All right, we have the privilege this morning of welcoming someone we know, Dwight Eisler, to share, and he's brought a friend, and Lynal Ernest is here with us this morning and his family, and it's an honor to have you as a guest and to hear your reflections from your life and your experience. So I welcome Dwight and Lynal to come up to the front and share their story.
Interesting.
Check.
Hey, okay, that's just so weird. So, this is Lynal Ernest, and that's his wife, Shanda, and Chase. We've gotten to know them in our community out in North Battleford over the past while, and we've managed to sit down once or twice and have a few conversations together. And it's been a really wonderful experience getting to know them. And I found out that Lynal is quite a famous First Nations singer. You've sang with some really prominent First Nations bands, right?
Yes, yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to call myself famous, maybe well known.
Okay. You have 4 kids altogether, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we have 4 and one on the way.
And one on the way, yeah, so. When is the one due?
In October, I believe, hon? Yeah, but I should know this.
Yeah. Okay. Of course, kind of to start off, one thing that you mentioned was really important to share a gift of tobacco first, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to do that, and then I want you to let us know what's important about that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to me, I know it's always taught to us in our culture, in our Cree protocol, to honor not only us Crees but other tribes as well. I'm sure you guys have heard, always in the First Nations tradition, to offer tobacco for any kind of help, knowledge, sharing, even stories. If you want to learn from the elders, you always offer tobacco. And to me, the tobacco, it brings good karma, for things to go well, and for us to take the information well, for the storyteller to be able to tell the story. There's some kind of good karma when you offer tobacco. I always say, back in a day, tobacco wasn't unhealthy as it is today, right? So it was the tradition of our ancestors to smoke pipe tobacco, to smoke their pipes. So it was offered the pipe tobacco, and it was a lot more healthy than today. It's got all the chemicals. Me and Dwight had that conversation. So it was a healthy practice, always to offer the tobacco.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Okay. So I'm going to break out a little bit, maybe just to the scriptures that were up that we talked about today. And our theme has been that, Christ, Creator, collides with all kinds of things in our lives. And the theme this week is Christ collides, Creator collides with our blinders, the not being able to see well. And I think sometimes we all struggle to see people a little bit as people. We struggle with that. And the stories that we're told today kind of talked about that a little bit. And very often when we talk about, we get caught up in the details and this happened and that, and we pick the story apart quite a bit. But I'd really like to back up a little bit and just look at it more of as a process of well, actually, like Vic said, taking the chance to get to know somebody. And that's what Jesus did on occasions. Just kind of took the chance, got to know somebody that really wasn't the norm at the time. So I'd like to focus kind of on that process of just getting to know, and I hate the words, but just getting to know the other, so the other isn't an other anymore. So here Lyle and I sit. So do you want to tell me a little bit about your background, kind of where you're from, and what shaped you into being who you are today?
Yes, I'll try to do it as quick as possible. My name is, first of all, I'll say a little bit in my language. Niga nanas kumon mamutawi mau, kakyo katumskat nawao, tutimtik. I start the day by thanking the Creator, and I greet you all, my friends. That's what I say in my language. I was told by an elder, when you speak, you always start by thanking the Creator and greeting the people you're speaking to. So I always like to follow that process. My Cree name, Nia Ngamuin Napiga Siwi Non Sigasun. That my Cree name, my spirit name, and my real name, if you will, is Singing Warrior. You know, as Cree people, Nihiwak, we get given our spirit names that our ancestors were able to live by their spirit names. So we still have those names today, but in this society we also have to have our English names. My English name is Lynal Bruno Ernest, and I'm from Waterhen Lake First Nation. It's about 4 hours north, 1 hour north of Meadow Lake. I'm 42 years old. I was born in 1982. A family of 13, my parents, and 11 of us, 6 sisters and 4 brothers. We've lost 2 of my younger brothers through the years. And so there's 11 of us now. Yeah. And I grew up in Waterhen up until about, I lived there until 2012 when I met my wife. And that's about the time about a year later, I had kidney failure. So we moved here to Saskatoon so I could be closer to the hospital for treatments. And we lived here in Saskatoon for 2 years where I did my treatments. Then we lived closer to home to North Balford, and I did my treatments there for 6 years. So I was on dialysis 8 years total, and I got my kidney transplant about 2.5 years, September 2022. So it's been going good so far, you know, and I'm really grateful for that. And that's just a little bit. I've been raised also in a ceremonial way, you know. I started singing when I was younger, about 11 years old, with my uncles, and it's been a big part of my life, you know, the drum and the places it's taken me. So that's something I just want to share, because it's a huge part of my life of being a singer today, and all the different songs that I'm able to share, the powwow, the round dance, but most importantly, the ceremonial songs, the sweat lodge songs, the Sundance songs that I'm still learning today, you know. And I only have a tiny bit of knowledge, you know. I only speak a little bit of my language, but I'm so eager to learn today, you know. And sometimes it takes so much life experience to appreciate and to understand how important these things are. So that's my journey today, you know, always wanting to learn, eager to learn, and open to change and learning new things. And this was a bit new for me, you know, to come speak in a church, but you know, I trust Dwight. He's a good person, so I thought, why not, eh? Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a little bit of myself. Yeah.
You took a chance, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we get to know each other, this is something I tucked away in the back of my head to do this. I've had it tucked away in the back of my head for a while. It's just been so wonderful getting to know Lynal and his stories. And I kind of wanted us as a congregation to be a little, you know, to get a taste of that, to be a part of that. And so when I approached Lynal to say, okay, I'd like to do this, And then we talked about it a little bit, and I said, okay, what do you want us to know as white people about being First Nations? And his answer really took my breath away, because he looked at me and he said, well, what were some of the meaningful conversations that you had? What was interesting to you? And I'm like, okay, I was expecting you to say this and this, and this is what I really want you to know about us. But he asked this really wonderful question. What was really interesting to you? And it really took my breath away. Kind of told me a little bit, I thought about who Lynal was as a very caring individual. Anyways, it was an amazing response. Why did you ask me that question? How did you do that?
Well, I didn't really think about it too much, but the first thought that come to my mind is, if I speak to a new crowd or to people and I want them to learn something, it's always important to know what they connect with, how they connect with what you have to offer, right? So in that way, then it's meaningful and you're able to connect better, eh? So that's how that question came.
Yeah, that question really took me by surprise. It was something you said, we talked about a little bit, was on occasion, is that the Creator puts a path before you, right? We've talked about that a number of times. And sometimes, even when you're struggling, the Creator still has that path in front of you. And sometimes even when things are really hard and things really hurt. So, how much a part of your life is that the idea, the thought, the movement, the journey of Creator has put this path in front of me? How much does that drive you? What's that like?
Oh, it's a roller coaster sometimes. I had my fair share of hard times, with my illness, with my grief. I lost my first daughter when back in 2000. I was just 18 when I had my first child, and she was born with it's always hard to speak of her. She was born with cerebral palsy, and she lived till 5 years old, and I lost her back in 2005. So that was really hard time for me, but it really, really taught me a lot. And my kids are the ones who teach me a lot about to appreciate life, and to love. And my wife who's been there, I always think of they're a gift from the Creator, to teach you, to help you to keep going. Without my wife or my children, I probably would just give up, when the hard times come. So there has been some hard times in my life, with the kidney failure also, and all the struggles. I'm so grateful that I had my wife by my side the whole time, and my kids. But there's also been some really big ups. I had some 2010. I had an experience of a lifetime where I got to go participate in the 2010 Olympics. As I was invited as a singer eventually, but they scratched that. But they then invited me as a role model, as a youth role model from my community. So I submitted my application and I got accepted, and it was just an awesome experience. They invited 350 First Nations from all across Canada. The East, the West, the Prairies, the Inuit, and they were all these good role models, and they were so involved in their culture. So it was really positive, uplifting atmosphere that I've never had the opportunity to see within my community, because there's always so much addiction, abuse issues. But these were like the strong youth. So it was very powerful awakening for me to be a part of that, back in 2010. And that was something that helped me believe, that Creator would teach me something like this to show me, and it was a good experience, And I had lots of other wonderful experiences throughout my singing where it's taken me, but that's one that really sticks out for me that I remember.
It's actually on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
If you know how to find it, it's
yeah.
it's fun
We
when you
actually
find it,
danced in. We participated in the opening ceremonies, and we rehearsed for a couple weeks there before we did. So you could look up the opening ceremonies, and
yeah.
we're part of that.
Yeah, so some good ups and there's some hard times as well, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about some of those too, I think. So if it's okay, I'll ask you a little bit about maybe the hard times as well, if that's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah. I remember you talked about sometimes the idea that there are times when it feels like you're not allowed to be yourself. Are there some times when you remember, or some things that you can talk about where at times it doesn't feel like you can be yourself?
Yeah, there's a lot of those memories. Even it's even instilled kind of in our families, in our communities growing up. I remember the person I was and how I was bullied in school, or even in my own house, from my older siblings for being a very emotional, first of all, person, and a very kind and just a different person. So through those experiences, I learned to, for a lot of years, I learned to suppress my real self, right? Which is one of the hardest things I've been through in my life. And it took me so many years to understand that, and I'm still learning today how to be myself, because it's not easy to be such a emotional, caring person in this world today. Not only our world, but the big world, right? Which reminds me when I listen and I observed here today, and then we talk about stuff like our blinders, and we're kind of pushed to that, right? To kind of survive in the society, to kind of fit in, and but what Creator really means us to be is to be good people, to be loving people, to be able to support and love one another. And this is something that we need. I'm trying so hard to teach that in my own household today, and I have a long ways to go, to teach that to my kids and my family, in my relationship, but something that I'm now opening to learning, and it is so important to try and surround yourself with positive people, positive, uplifting places to help you grow.
Yeah, and sometimes those are hard to find.
Oh, they're very hard to find. Yes.
Yeah. I think sometimes you've said a few times, it gets a little tiring having to struggle along at times with those kinds of things. And there's been, this general, I don't know if we want to call it general struggle as a First Nations people to exist and to be who they are. And then one time you talked about me, how the ancestors understood that the struggle had to be endured for future generations. You remember me talking about that? But
yes.
Your ancestors, that's what the word you used was ancestors, right?
Yes.
Understanding of this struggle that you would had to go through. What that was kind of interesting. What was that?
Well, to me, I'm always trying to make sense of life, and to understand my people, and what we've been through, our future, and I think through my own life experiences, I feel I start to grow more connection and understanding to why things are the way they are, and what I've been through in my life, and what I see my people, my family go through, the struggles of addiction, and whatnot, all our people in jails, and my personal struggles with my health, with learning to accept myself. And I think about all these struggles you go through, but without any of this, you wouldn't learn anything you did, Look, I'm here today speaking, connecting, and it's so obvious to me that it's something that given to me from Creator, right? To everything that was in your life wasn't by accident. We're living this existence that Creator meant for us to live. So that's how it is. That's how it comes to me today. Then I think about my ancestors by the question you asked. Our past leaders. I think of my ancestor Big Bear. He was one who fought so hard, to get the best for his people. And if you guys know anything about Big Bear, he was the chief. He was a chief who fought so hard, but he didn't want to fight. He wanted peace. The ultimate thing for him was peace. He tried to bring his people to live in peace. And of course, the storybooks won't always tell you this, but there is a truth to the stories that we hear from our elders. There's a difference than the ones sometimes in the books, right?
Books, yeah.
So he was a man of peace, and he tried to. That's the main thing he fought for, is peace, and for us to get the best future for his grandchildren, his future generations. So in order to finally take these treaties, they had to ensure that there was the best future. And they knew that there was hard times to come, but they also know there was some good times to come, and that we would get through it. I believe us as a people, and the Creator is so powerful that sometimes we think things are going to be the way they are, but He could turn this earth around just like that, right? And that's something that gives me peace, to know that there is a future for myself, for my people.
Yeah. Just thinking about that, when you first were talking, when we came in, that your real name was Spirit Warrior. Singing Warrior. Yeah. Oh my goodness, how many times have I said that? Oh well, but Singing Warrior. So, what was the difference when you were really young about what you thought Singing Warrior was, and now what you know that is?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, when you're young, I thought it was really cool to be a warrior. To us, sounds right away to be at war, to be this fierce warrior and to be able to fight, to be able to kill. And as I grew older, and I actually spoke to elders, which is my wife's grandparents, and they told me to be a warrior, it doesn't actually mean to be a fighter. They said it means there's a different kind of warrior. There's that kind of warrior, and then there's the warrior that's meant to protect, that's meant to love, to live by the Creator, and to do the Creator's work. So that's to what you learn as a kid, what you see as a kid, and what you grow to learn. And for us, our spirit names come from the Creator, and they come from the heavens down to the elder who names you in a ceremony, and we connect to our names. And throughout your life, you learn how you connect to your spirit name. and this is how I learned to connect with my own name.
It's a pretty neat journey, hey, to go from that fighting, killing thing into the protector and the person who's kind and loving, and actually talked about peace,
Yes.
Yeah. So that we talk a lot about the Creator, you talk about our faith. Have you ever struggled? I think a lot of us here on occasion just might have a struggle with our faith. Does that ever happen to you by chance?
Oh, still happens every day. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever stop struggling. Mm-hmm. But I think we could always keep learning. And we learn from each other also. Whether I'm here, I could learn from you guys. You could learn from me. But excuse me. Yeah, there's always times, especially the times when we struggle, the hard days, where we struggle with our faith. But there's also days where we could see how much we're meant to be where we are. We're seeing the miracles that the Creator gives to us. So those are the good times, and we just need to keep striving to be closer to Creator, to learning, and
Yeah. So kind of on that note, another thing that we've talked about is a little bit of some of the ceremonies that you have that were very instrumental in your life and how they held you in place and what they did. So can you share a little bit about some of the ceremony that's really important to you, had a lot of meaning in your life?
Yes, the sweat lodge is one ceremony that really helped me. Also, the Sundance Lodge, and I have to be careful when I speak of these because there's certain things you could share public and certain things that are meant to be discussed, and more sacred. Mm-hmm. So, but through my experience of having that in my life, it's really helped me to have a place to feel safe, to feel connected with the Creator, and to learn to grieve. It's a place where I've learned to grieve in a sweat lodge. And through my grief, I let go of a lot of that hurt, and then I grow. I feel myself growing into more peace and more acceptance, more forgiveness, which is a big a big part of my life, because 5 years ago, I was so angry maybe 5-10 years ago at the church for what my people experienced in church, that I wouldn't be able to sit here, but today I have a lot more understanding, and I no longer blame the church, but it is human beings who abused this way, Mm-hmm. So, and to learn to have that forgiveness and understanding is a big part of it.
Yeah, I don't even know how we overstate that. Actually, that is massive. Yeah, been quite a journey for you. Yeah. I have so many questions here. I'm probably not going to have enough time. So, kind of on that note, we kind of headed in that direction a little bit. What's it like raising your family in this Western world then for you?
It has its struggles, Sometimes one of the big things I want my kids to have is my knowledge. I want to be able to pass down to my kids. But we grow up in a city, and they're a big part of their peers, in school and fitting in there. And there's also the technology, their games, Sometimes they'd rather be on games than come to a ceremony with their dad or a round dance, right? So learning to have that balance, but I want so badly to teach them, their language, their ceremony, because I have an understanding now of how important it's going to be in their future. So that's one of the biggest struggles for me when it comes to also watching the struggles of a big thing is that's important is learning the truths and to understand. A lot of people are my own people would not be able to sit here and talk, to have these conversations. They're not ready. Even some of our leaders, in today, I don't think they've really truly accepted or learned about who they are yet, but they've learned to fit into the society. And sometimes you get further ahead in this life is learning to fit in than you do in learning to understand who you truly are, and to be connected to the Creator. And your own way of life. There's two separate ways of life where you must learn to live. You have to learn to live within your own way of life, your own beliefs, your own spirituality. But you also have to learn to live into the white man's society and ways.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So kind of on that note is you learning who you are and kind of on that journey to being the singing warrior, right? You've also started doing a lot of kind of speaking at events and things, you know? What's it like becoming the singing warrior and doing the things you do? And maybe what's the favorite thing that you like to talk about when you talk? So those are two questions, but.
Well, it could be it's very rewarding when somebody comes up to you and shakes your hand and they tell you how much it meant to them. It's something you shared with them, right? And how much it connected. So just hearing that, you're doing the Creator's work, and just finding your way in life, finding the happiness, the meaningfulness that you could connect with in your life and how far you've come. And then you're able to understand the struggles you've been through and how the future could be so great, And this is something that's so rewarding for me. Also to be able to sing, my voice, with my health, my voice ain't always as strong as I'd like it to be, with all especially with the anti-rejection meds that I take for my kidney transplant. I could get a lot of colds, and I've been as I tell Dwight, I'm constantly battling, so it's very hard on my voice. But when I'm able to sing, when I feel good, there's no feeling like it, when you sing in a round dance or in a ceremony, and you feel your heart, you feel your song, it comes directly from your soul, and it brings so much peace to you. And that's just the gift of music, right? But to be able to experience that within yourself, it's very rewarding for me.
Rewarding, yeah, okay. I guess we got to pull this to a closer pretty quick, but there's one thing we talked a little bit about, and I was wondering, this is kind of furthering of that, as you and I sat together and chatted, what was it like to sit down with a white person and have these conversations? And I mean, now you're sitting in a church which hasn't had the best of history, in that, as you mentioned. What's it like to do this, and what's important about it?
Well, it's very gives me a lot of hope, and it's so important for us, for people of faith, good people, and they're usually people of faith, who believe in the Creator, because we need that. I believe we need that in our lives. We need our spirituality to become good human beings. Otherwise, we'll get lost in all the greed and the negative things, right? Mm-hmm. And so to be able to connect with people, even not only within my society, my people, but also other people, because we're not going anywhere, right? We're going to live together for the future. So we really, this is really important for us to learn to have these discussions and learn to understand each other, I know a lot of my people are not in the same place as me. I just always want to share that. Mm-hmm. So you won't always get the same conversation from a First Nations person, but there are some that will be able to have good conversation, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is so important to be able to learn and connect, and it could give us new ideas, new ways of living together, Mm-hmm. That's the hope for me. Yep.
Yeah. Those conversations are so important. I mean, as we've sat down and we've chatted, it was such a privilege to be able to sit with you and Shanda and have conversations and talk about whatever it was we were talking about. It's just, I always think of it as kind of a sacred space when we sit down, sitting together, and it is really important. Yeah. So, such a privilege to have you here, Lynal. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing it. I mean, a bare, tiny little bit of a conversation, kind of. So thanks so much. So as I think about the scripture passages we had today, we take the chance, we sit down with somebody and we talk and have supper, whatever it is we do with them, and we get to know them a little bit. So that's kind of what I'd like to focus on, just that process of doing that. Now, it was drumming, right? Or sing, yeah. So you're up now.
Yep.
For your singing. So I'll just sit, I guess, and listen, and you're gonna sing a couple of songs?
Yes.
Or something?
I'll just sing one song.
One song? And you're gonna let us know what it is and
Yes.
Explain a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll just close with the song.
Yep.
Yep. All right. We must be out of time now, right?
We are, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We're probably over time.
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, I just like to thank you, Dwight, for inviting me today, Mm-hmm. It's and thank you, everybody, for having me here today. It's an honor and a privilege. And I really hope I was able to share something meaningful with you guys today. It's always a pleasure to go out for me and share. It's just what I feel good doing, And I'll end off today with a song. I hope you guys could take home something good from this today. That'll mean a lot to me. That's just my hope. And this song I'm going to share is a Creator song. And it's in Cree. It's in my own Nihio language. What the words to this song say are, Creator, put us here on earth to love one another. This is the closest translation. Of course, you can't always get the same meaning as it does in our language, but the way I could translate it best. The Creator put us here on earth to live together, to love one another, to love all living, and to be loving human beings. For we're only here on this earth for a short time, for a short while. So that's what the words mean. Maybe I'll just stand up here. Thank you.